The movie begins with Nicole Barlow preparing for her mother's funeral in their old family home in San Pedro, California. She calls her sister, Annie, asking if she'll come, but Annie refuses, saying she doesn't want to face the memories of how their mother treated them. The tension in her voice makes it clear their childhood wasn't kind. Alone in the dimly lit house, Nicole tries to video call her cousin Liz, who's staying with her young daughter, Eva. The connection cuts in and out, and the signal keeps dropping. As Nicole moves through the living room, she suddenly hears heavy breathing, close, almost right behind her. But when she turns, there's no one there. Uneasy, she shakes it off and reconnects the call. Liz appears on screen, telling her to let Eva say hi. But before Nicole can answer, Eva frowns and asks softly, "Who's that behind you?" Nicole freezes. Slowly, she looks over her shoulder and sees a dark door standing slightly open, one that should have been closed. The hallway beyond is pitch black. She hesitates, steps closer, and pushes the door open. The camera on her phone drops out of focus as she disappears into the darkness. The next morning, Annie arrives in town for the funeral. When she reaches the house, she calls out to Nicole, but gets no reply. The place feels cold and untouched. She checks her voicemail. Liz is worried because no one's heard from Nicole since last night. Annie decides to look around and dials her sister's phone. The ringtone echoes from a small closet down the hall. Inside, she finds a phone lying on the floor. As she searches the room, she notices an old photo tucked into a box. Two pregnant women standing together. One is her mother. The other wears a floral dress that Annie doesn't recognize. Before she can think further, something creaks upstairs. Later that night, Annie falls asleep in the same house. A faint noise wakes her. The lights flicker as she steps into the hallway. The floorboards groan. Suddenly, a picture frame crashes to the floor, slicing her leg with a shard of glass. The photo that fell shows the same two women, her mother and the stranger in the floral dress. Annie's breathing quickens. The air feels heavier now, as if the house itself is watching. The next day, she attends her mother's funeral. For the first time, we clearly see Annie's distinct eyes, one blue, one green, a trait her mother never shared. After the service, she meets Liz and Eva outside the church. They exchange uneasy hugs, and it's revealed this is the first time Annie has met Eva in person. When Liz asks about Nicole, Annie insists she'll probably turn up soon, but doubt lingers in her expression. That evening, the three return to the family home. Annie tries to settle in, showing Eva a necklace her mother gave her when she was little. Later, while everyone sleeps, Annie dreams of a shirtless man sobbing in a dark space. The dream shifts to her phone lighting up on the nightstand, its GPS showing a random address pinned on the map. Suddenly, a loud thud jolts Liz awake. She looks around, confused, as the lights in her room flicker. A shadowy figure stands near the wall, then vanishes. At the same moment, Annie wakes from her dream. Her phone slips from the bed, and a low sound echoes through the hall. She steps out cautiously and glimpses a silhouette at the end of the corridor. When she checks Liz's room, the bed is empty. The closet door hangs open. Annie grabs a kitchen knife and calls her name. Out of nowhere, a powerful, unseen force slams into her, dragging her toward the closet. She fights back, kicks free, and stumbles into the hall. Then she hears Eva screaming from the other room. Annie rushes to her, scoops her up, and bolts out of the house as the lights explode behind them. At the police station, Officer Bill Creek takes her statement. He listens quietly, but doesn't believe her story about an invisible attack. Instead, he begins to suspect her involvement in Nicole's disappearance. Annie's frustration shows. She's terrified, but no one's taking her seriously. That night, she checks into a nearby motel, trying to piece things together. Her phone pings again. The same address from her dream appears on screen. She searches it online and finds a blurry photo of a woman in a floral dress. As she stares, the image flickers. The woman's pose changes slightly. Annie's eyes widen. It's as if the picture just moved. Disturbed, she steps outside for air and spots the crying man again, the same one from her dream. When she returns to her room, a horrific sight awaits her. A woman's decapitated body lies on the bed. Annie gasps, stumbles backward, and suddenly wakes up. It was just a nightmare, but the terror feels real. Desperate for answers, she calls Officer Creek and convinces him to come with her back to the house. Together, they explore the rooms. Dust coats the furniture. Everything feels frozen in time. In the hallway, Annie finds a small key near a loose floorboard. When they open a narrow closet, she notices something strange. a draft of air coming from behind the wall. Bill helps her move an old wardrobe aside, revealing a hidden doorway. They enter a cramped secret room. The wallpaper is old and peeling, the space small enough to feel suffocating. Annie swears she's never seen this before. When Bill shines his flashlight, tiny holes in the wall come into view, peepholes leading to other rooms in the house. Someone had been watching from inside here. Annie's voice trembles as she says her mother must have known about it, maybe even used it. Bill looks doubtful, sensing her unraveling nerves. Later that evening, Annie visits a man named Giles, asking to see his sister, Stevie, a psychic she once knew in high school. Giles hesitates, but agrees. Stevie greets Annie warmly, but seems uneasy when she hears about the house. Despite her brother's warnings, she agrees to help. They return to the house together. Stevie immediately senses a presence and asks to be taken to the mother's bedroom. For several minutes, nothing happens. Then the lights begin to flicker. Stevie whispers that something is here. Annie leads her toward the living room, and Stevie points at the hallway closet, the same one from before. "Someone's in there," she says quietly, staring at the door. Her breathing quickens, and her voice grows frantic. She begins muttering that she can see what happened. "It's horrible," she says, trembling. Suddenly, she screams. Giles rushes to grab her as she thrashes violently, shouting the same word over and over. "Judas!" The air in the room drops cold. Annie turns toward the closet, just as a woman's body floats above, pale, lifeless, and wearing the same floral dress from the photo. Annie and Giles sprint out of the house in panic. Outside, Stevie collapses, whispering that there's more than one spirit inside. Shaken, Annie drives away, her mind spinning. The word Judas echoes in her head. Later that night, she searches online and finds old reports of a serial killer known as the Judas Killer, a murderer who decapitated his victims, including a woman named Jennifer Glick, who was last seen wearing a floral dress. Annie freezes when she sees a photo of Glick standing beside her mother. The next morning, Annie wakes with a new determination. She revisits the photos she found at her mother's house, the same one showing her mother with Jennifer Glick. As she studies them closely, she notices something chilling. The two women were pregnant at the same time. Suddenly, Annie realizes the connection might run deeper than she ever imagined. Meanwhile, Officer Bill Creek continues investigating the house. He examines every photo Annie left behind and notices one picture showing a cupboard at a strange angle. Something about it looks off. He moves toward it, finding a hidden latch. Behind it, he discovers a secret door leading into the same concealed room he and Annie had entered earlier. Bill steps inside, flashlight cutting through the dust and cobwebs. The air feels thick and stale. As he examines the wall, the cross hanging above the bed falls suddenly, clattering onto the floor. When he picks it up, the bulb in his flashlight flickers, then dies completely. He glances up. A faint shadow moves across the ceiling. Before he can react, something lunges at him from the dark. The flashlight drops, rolling across the floor. Bill Creek never walks out again. At the same time, Annie drives to the address that appeared on her phone's GPS. It leads her to an old church on the edge of town. Inside, she finds a collection of photographs pinned to a corkboard. One of them shows her mother as a young woman, smiling beside a man identified as Charles Barlow. Her pulse quickens as she reads the caption. Charles Barlow, her mother's brother. She never knew she had an uncle. Annie digs deeper and discovers that both her mother and Charles once lived near Jennifer Glick. Later that night, Annie calls Stevie again, desperate for help. Stevie's voice trembles through the phone as she warns Annie that the presence she felt wasn't her mother. It was something far darker. She explains that the spirit told her Annie's mother did something terrible, something she tried to keep buried. When Annie asks what she's supposed to do, Stevie offers her a way to communicate with the dead, a tool, as she calls it. But she warns her, once she opens that door, she can't close it again. Annie hesitates, but knows she's running out of time. She collects a few items that belong to Jennifer Glick, including the necklace her mother gave her as a child, now realizing it once belonged to Glick. She goes back to the house, this time completely alone. The place is silent, as if waiting for her. She sits on the living room floor, using a crude, makeshift Ouija board drawn on an old piece of cardboard. She sets the necklace in the center and whispers, "Are you Jennifer Glick?" For a moment, nothing happens. Then, the necklace begins to move on its own, sliding slowly toward the yes. Annie's hands tremble. She swallows hard and continues, asking what Glick wants to tell her. The necklace jerks again, circling letters that spell one word, Judas. Suddenly, the air grows icy cold. The door slams shut behind her. Annie looks up just as a secret hatch in the floor creaks open. From the darkness below, a man crawls up, filthy, trembling, and muttering incoherently. His mismatched eyes glint under the flickering light. It's him, Judas. Annie backs away, pressing herself against the wall as he lumbers through the room. She slips into the hallway and sees the hatch still open. Gathering her courage, she climbs down into the crawl space. The smell of decay fills the air. As her flashlight sweeps across the floor, she freezes. Lying there are two bodies. One of them is Bill Creek. The other is Nicole. Her breath catches as she realizes her sister has been here all along. Judas was hiding beneath the house, killing and keeping his victims below. She hears a sobbing sound, the same crying she's been seeing in her dreams. Judas is nearby. Annie reaches for Bill's gun lying beside him, but the magazine slips from her hand and clatters across the floor. The noise draws Judas's attention. He stops crying and turns, his face half hidden in shadow. Annie ducks behind a curtain as he climbs back in the main room. She holds her breath, clutching the empty gun, praying he doesn't find her. When she finally tries to sneak away, the floor creaks. Judas spins and grabs her. She struggles, managing to strike him once before he knocks her unconscious. When Annie wakes, her wrists are bound, and she's tied to a chair inside the closet, the same one that started it all. The rope digs into her skin as she tries to break free. She hears Judas moving somewhere in the house, muttering softly like a child. The sound of his crying echoes down the hallway. Annie glances at a metal coat hanger on the floor. With careful effort, she pulls it close, bending into a sharp point. The closet door creaks open, and Judas appears, his massive frame filling the doorway. He grips a kitchen knife and steps toward her, his breathing deep and uneven. Annie waits until he leans in, then stabs him in the side with a makeshift weapon. He growls in pain and stumbles back. Using the moment, she grabs the knife and cuts herself free. Judas lunges again, but suddenly, a cold gust of wind rushes through the room. The necklace on the floor begins to spin. The spirit of Jennifer Glick manifests faintly in the background, her ghost pulling Annie away from danger. Judas swings wildly, slamming into the walls as Annie scrambles for the gun. This time, she manages to reload it with the dropped magazine. As Judas charges, she fires once, then again. He collapses to the floor. Silence fills the house. Annie lowers the gun, trembling. As she steps closer, she notices his eyes, one blue, one green, the same as hers. Her stomach drops. Judas wasn't just her uncle. He was her blood, her mother's secret twin. In the aftermath, the house is sealed off and sold. Annie gains custody of Eva, determined to give the girl the life she and Nicole never had. Construction crews begin renovating the property, stripping the walls and sealing the hidden room for good. One night, as Annie sleeps peacefully beside Eva, the camera lingers on her face, calm, untroubled. Then it drifts downward, settling into darkness. A faint whisper echoes. Somewhere beneath the floorboards, an eye opens, one blue, one green, and shifts toward the light.